So there are a couple parts of the brain that are involved in the limbic system, and the limbic system is really what monitors your stress response in the body, and there's various parts of the brain involved in that. But today there are a couple cool parts of the brain, as if they weren't all cool, but those are the amygdala and the cingulate gyrus. And so if we were to open up the brain, my brain just fell apart. Can anybody just relate to what just happened? The cingulate gyrus is this area of the brain here. And so the cingulate gyrus kind of works in conjunction with the amygdala. And the amygdala is really the fear center of the brain, right? And it responds immediately to our environment. So if there's physical trauma, emotional trauma, feeling threatened, any type of stressor. And it doesn't even have to be what we would perceive as trauma. It could be something that I like to call modern day saber-toothed tigers. And by that, I mean traffic jam on the way to work, somebody cutting you off in traffic. It could be your boss saying that they want to chat for a few minutes at 1 o'clock today. It could be your significant other, like, hey, can we have a chat? It can even be things like if you have some sort of chronic illness. So chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, chronic pain, autoimmune disorders, anything like that gets stuck in the brain between the amygdala and the cingulate gyrus. And the amygdala also controls your fear response, and it creates associations with certain fears as well. So for example, I'm afraid of snakes. So at some point in my life, my brain made this association that snakes are dangerous, all of them. It could be a garter snake in the backyard, and I have a very strong fear response, even though I know that it's a garter snake. What's it going to do? But it's still, my amygdala has that stuck. And it can work the same way with people that do suffer from chronic pain and chronic illness, is that eventually you'll start having a stress response to it. And this is also very common in people that have chronic conditions. They might notice that if they're stressed, they would have a flare, or it makes their pain worse, for example. Or if they have an autoimmune condition, it can cause a flare-up of that. And that has to do with the amygdala working with the cingulate gyrus. The cingulate gyrus is where pain and emotion meet in the brain. So that's where those two intertwine. And so that's where the emotional associations come into play when you have something such as, again, I'm going to go back to chronic illness, chronic pain. And the cingulate gyrus is what processes pain and perceived pain. And I can talk more on that if people are interested in hearing how pain and perceived pain works. So the cingulate gyrus is also what keeps us in emotional loops. It's what keeps us spiraling, ruminating, obsessive compulsive disorders and personalities. By the way, there's a difference between OCD and OCPD. Those are two entirely different things. Anxiety, depression, but the cingulate gyrus, again, is what keeps us in a loop. So if somebody has fibromyalgia, or they have chronic pain, or they have anxiety, this is what causes people to feel stuck. It's a gatekeeper. So it's working with that gatekeeper and getting past it to get you out of a loop that keeps you feeling stuck where you cannot move forward. And that's the beauty of neuroplasticity, is it helps rewire the neural pathways in your brain to help you get unstuck. And that is also why neuroplasticity is amazing when we are discovering that it can help people get out of chronic pain, help reduce flare-ups when they have chronic conditions, help with PTSD, help with anxiety. The cingulate gyrus has also been involved in emotion regulation as well. So people that have autism, for example, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, it can all be traced back to this small part of the brain that regulates emotions, really. And it's fascinating stuff. So those are the two parts of the brain that I wanted to focus on today. I know those are just tiny snippets, but really everything starts with the brain. The brain itself manages everything in the body, and it's so fascinating to learn the science behind it and how that works.